The Chinese kinship system is classified as a Sudanese or descriptive system for the definition of family, identified by Lewis Henry Morgan in his 1871 work Systems of Consanguinity and Affinity of the Human Family. The Sudanese system is one of the 6 major kinship systems, together with Eskimo, Hawaiian, Iroquois, Crow, and Omaha. The Sudanese-Chinese kinship system is the most complicated of all kinship systems. It maintains a separate designation for almost every one of Ego's kin based on the generation, the lineage, the relative age, and the gender. In the Chinese kinship system, maternal and paternal lineages are distinguished. For example, a mother's brother and a father's brother have different terms. The relative age of a sibling relation is considered. For example, a father's younger brother has a different terminology than his older brother. The gender of the relative is distinguished, as in English. The generation from ego is indicated, like in English. Chinese kinship is agnatic, emphasizing patrilineality. Kinship and Chinese societies. Literature and history. Kinship terms appeared in the earliest Chinese lexicon, Chapter 4 is dedicated to an explanation of kinship and marriage. Another lexicon from late Han Dynasty, Shiming, has a detailed list of forms of address for all relatives. With the influence of Confucianism, the concepts of kinship and consanguinity are deeply ingrained in Chinese culture. One of the Confucian teachings is filial piety, which it is extended to a series of 5 relationships known as the 5 cardinal relationships, 3 of which are related to the family: ruler and subject, father and son, elder and younger brother, husband and wife, between friends. In the 3-character classic, the 9 agnates are listed in the following stanza. Culture. In Chinese culture, where the extended family is still valued, kinship terms have survived well into current usage. Also, since it is taboo to refer to or address a more senior family relation by his or her given name, the kinship term is the only possible term of address. When there are many siblings, as in many post-World War II baby boom families, the relation is distinguished and addressed according to age or rank. For example, is used in the address for the second eldest sister of one's mother, for the third eldest sister of one's mother, etc. In cases where someone is elder than his more senior relation, such as an uncle, it is common to address the senior relation with a diminutive suffix. Because some of these terms have no equivalent in foreign languages, they are not easily translated and the descriptiveness is often lost in translation. However, terms such as second uncle are sometimes used. Translating kinship terms from other languages often presents the problem of ambiguity, as there is no equivalent general term such as aunt. Despite the complexity of the kinship address system, it is common to simplify it for the sake of familiarity. Some formal kinship terms are not familiar to many people, cumbersome, or not preferred by the addressee. For example, a cousin once removed may at her discretion be referred to as simply a cousin if she is of a similar age to the speaker. Law. The Great Qing Legal Code was the last set of Chinese laws where the complete kinship terms were shown. The Qing Code not only confirmed the importance of defining kinship relations, but also defined the legal and moral conducts between family relations. Although there was no specific statute in the Qing Code to define kinship terms, it specified the mourning attire and ritual appropriate according to the relation between the mourner and the deceased. Kinship relationships also played a crucial role in the administration of justice under the king. Penalties were more severe for crimes committed against senior relatives within the family hierarchy. Crimes committed against those outside of the extended family were punished less harshly. Crimes committed by senior family members against their inferiors were least likely to elicit harsh sentences. kings. Among the 47 statutes added in 1740 under Qianlong Emperor, Statute 2 and Statute 3 dealt with mourning attire completed with charts. According to king law, one had to observe a period of mourning when a relative died. The closer and more senior the deceased family member, the longer the period of mourning is dictated by law. The mourning period ranged from 3 months to 3 years. During this period, the bereaved had to stay at home, excuse himself from public service, refrain from celebrations of all sorts, and practice abstinence, among other things. The extermination of 9 kindreds is considered one of the most severe punishments found in traditional Chinese law, enforced until the end of Qing. The practice of exterminating the kins had been established since Qin, when Emperor Qin Shi Huang declared those who criticized the present with that of the past. Zhu referred to the extermination of 3 kindreds, father, son and grandson. The extermination was to ensure the elimination of challengers to the throne and political enemies. Emperor Wen of Sui abolished the practice, but it was reintroduced by succeeding Emperor Yang. Not only did he bring back the punishment, but he also extended it to the 9 kindreds. In the first year of the reign of the Yongle Emperor, the prominent historian Fang Xiaoru committed an offense worthy of the extermination of 9 kindreds, for refusing to write the inaugural address and for insulting the emperor. He was recorded as saying in defiance to the would-be emperor. Thus he was granted his wish, with an infamous case, perhaps the only one, of extermination of 10 kindreds in the history of China. In addition to the blood relations from his 9 agnates family hierarchy, his students and peers were added to be the 10th group. Altogether 873 people were said to have been executed. To this day, a 3-character term for death to the entire family remains a powerful curse in the Cantonese language. Clan. A Chinese clan is a patrilineal and patrilocal group of related Chinese people with a common surname sharing a common ancestor. In southern China, clan members could form a village known as an ancestral village. In Hong Kong, clan settlement is exemplified by walled villages. An ancestral village usually features a hall and shrine honoring ancestral clan members. A clan pedigree can be found recording male members of the clan. A married woman is considered part of her husband's clan. Marriage and divorce. Marriage is an important rite signifying the coming together of 2 clans and the beginning of a new family unit. Marriage has to be permanent. An issue is expected. Polygamy. Polygamy had been practiced in Chinese societies for thousands of years. Since the Han Dynasty, Chinese men have been able to legally have only one wife. It was common for privileged Chinese men to have a wife and various concubines. However, for those who could afford a dowry and support a family of multiple concubines and children, polygyny provided a better chance of issuing heirs. The importance of this was apparent in the imperial court, which usually housed hundreds of concubines. Aside from concubinage, having multiple wives with equal status was also accepted prior to the ban on polygamy. In a concubinage situation, the wife, concubines and the children would live in the same household. Wives and concubines would often refer to each other as sisters. As a concubine was not wedded in a marriage ceremony, she had fewer rights in the household. There was also no interclan relation between the man's clan and the concubine's own kin. Polygamy was banned in China in 1930 when the Republic of China government promulgated civil code where section 985 states, a person who has a spouse may not contract another marriage. A person shall not marry with 2 or more persons simultaneously. This is still in effect today in the territories under effective administration of the Republic of China, including Taiwan and Kinmen and Matsu. After the establishment of the People's Republic of China by the Chinese Communists on the mainland, this banning is reaffirmed in the passage of the Marriage Code of 1950. In Hong Kong, new polygamous marriages were no longer legally allowed after 1971 with the passage of the Marriage Act. Due to this, incidents of extramarital affairs arising. Some men have even established a family with the mistresses and children kept secret from the wives. There is a phenomenon of cross-border polygyny usually involving Hong Kong men and the mistresses living in mainland China. Demographics, with modern Chinese governments advocating smaller families through family planning campaigns and policy making. Large extended families may be a thing of the past. The People's Republic of China introduced its one-child policy in 1979, and the Family Planning Association of Hong Kong began its Two is Enough campaign in the 1970s, contrasted with the large extended families created during the pre-war and baby boom years. Average modern Chinese families now have many fewer children. As of 2006, the fertility rates in Hong Kong and Macau ranked among the lowest two in the world. Hong Kong, ranked the lowest in the world, was the only territory with less than one child born per woman on the average. Both mainland China and Taiwan were ranked well below the world average. Similarly, the birth rates in Hong Kong and Macau ranked among the lowest three in the world. Both mainland China and Taiwan were ranked below the median. A product of rising divorce rates in Chinese societies is the breakdown of the traditionally close-knit kinship relation. On the other hand, remarriage could provide more than two sets of paternal and maternal relatives. Defining kin. 9 grades of relations. The 9 grades of relations is an important concept when it comes to application of laws and observing rituals. Since the Han Dynasty, there have been two separate interpretations of what is defined by the 9 grades. Each interpretation is based on societal and political needs as the ruler of the day see fit. The older interpretation defined the 9 grades of relations strictly in the paternal line, that is, 9 generations from great-great-grandfather down to great-great-her children. This interpretation was officially recognized after Tang and Song dynasties. By Ming and Qing dynasties, laws have defined the patrilineality of the 9 kindreds. This interpretation was cited in Part 3, Chapter 2 of Lewis Henry Morgan's 1877 book Ancient Societies. The contemporary interpretation defines the 9 grades of relations to be 4 generations from the paternal line, 3 from the maternal line, and 2 from the wife's. Historically, this definition has been used during award, punishment and family annihilation. Yet another interpretation suggests that 9 is actually an arbitrary number, as 9 is considered a large number in Chinese culture. As such, it means anyone and everyone related is to be executed in the context of family annihilation. 5 degrees of mourning attire. The 5 degrees of mourning attire define not only the proper attire, but also the proper mourning ritual one should observe when a relative has died. Appearing in writings as early as the rites of Zhou, mourning rituals developed over the years. By the time of the Qing dynasty, it was set down in law that there were 5 degrees, or grades of mourning according to the relationship one has with the deceased. The closer a person is related to the deceased, the higher the degree of mourning that is observed. A married female belongs to her husband's clan and observes a similar but lower degree of mourning than her husband. She would observe mourning for a small portion of the members from her own clan. A married man would observe mourning for an even smaller number of relatives of his in-laws. In a concubinage situation, a concubine was only required to mourn for her husband, his wife, his parents, and all his children including her own, whereas a wife was required to mourn for almost all of her husband's near relatives. In addition, there was no requirement to mourn the death of a concubine except by the man's children. Since the end of feudal China, the rituals of the 5 degrees of mourning have largely given way to simpler and less elaborate observance. Conventionally, clans adopted the 5 degrees of mourning according to unwritten definitions that determines the difference between close and distant relatives. As such, marriage between relatives that were covered within the 5 degrees of mourning was considered taboo and immoral. These definitions, unlike the mourning ritual, are still applicable in determining whether a marriage is acceptable, albeit fewer people are familiar with the mourning rituals themselves. According to these definitions, many relatives considered distant in Western cultures are considered close in Chinese culture. The 5 degrees of mourning attire in decreasing order of severity are: 1. 3 years, 2. 3 years, 1 year, 1 year with staff of mourning, 5 months, 3 months, 3. 9 months, 7 months, 4. 5 months, 5. 3 months. Common extended family and terminology. This section covers members and the spouses in the immediate and extended family that is commonly found in the first 9 corner cells on the table of consanguinity, a cousin chart. The terms are listed in standard Chinese. Regional and dialectal usages are listed in the corresponding row. The degrees of mourning attire are included as an indication of how close the relation is to ego and what level of respect is expected. 1 being the highest, 5 being the lowest. 0 means they are not within the definition of the 5 degrees of mourning. Some of these are common relations and are included for completeness. The degrees of mourning indicated in the table are based on ego as an unmarried member of the family. General prefixes prefix to indicate maternal lineage on some of the relations. Cousin, used in relation to descendants of father's brother. Other cousins, used in relation to descendants of father's sister and both mother's brother and sister. Prefix for relations 4 generations removed, senior of egard, i.e., great-great-grandparents. Prefix for relations 3 generations removed, i.e., great-grandparents, her children. Prefix for relations 2 generations removed, senior of egard, i.e., grandparents. Also a general prefix for relations 2 or more generations, senior of ego. Prefix for relations 2 generations removed, junior of egard, i.e., her children. Also a general prefix for relations 2 or more generations, junior of ego. Prefix for relations 4 generations removed, junior of egard, i.e., great-great, her children. Where they differ, the simplified Chinese character is presented first, followed by the traditional Chinese character in parentheses. Members of the nuclear family, members of the extended family, larger extended family, and terminology. This section covers members and the spouses found beyond the first 9 corner cells on the table of consanguinity, a cousin chart. Although some of the relations seem distant, they are considered close relatives, and it is common for Chinese families to have regular contact with these members. Distant relations, other than some of the relations mentioned in the previous sections that are not covered under the 5 degrees of mourning attire. The following are kin that are also considered distant. Great-great-great, her children. Great-great-great-great, her children. Great-great-great-great-great, her children. Great-great-great-great-great-great, her children. Great-great-great-great-great-great, her children. Prefix for maternal line relations, essentially anyone not sharing the same surname as ego, partial or no consanguinity. The following familial relationship suggests partial or no consanguinity. Most of them are not a modern phenomenon, however. In fact, polygamy was widely accepted in pre-Republican China. The saying of 3 fathers and 8 mothers refers to cohabiting stepfather, non-cohabiting stepfather, stepfather from remarriage of father and mother, father's official wife, stepmother, adopted mother, concubine replacing ego's birth mother who died, widowed birth mother who has remarried, birth mother who has been divorced, father's concubine who is also a mother, wet nurse. Another saying of 5 fathers and 10 mothers refers to birth father, adopted father, stepfather, godfather, teacher, coach, master, and 2 mothers added to the 8 mentioned above. Birth mother, father's concubine. As a result of polygamy, the would-be half-siblings, siblings sharing the same father, siblings sharing the same mother,